Hey again, it's Daniel for the last part of this drug addiction thing about my drug addiction and what I went through. Um, so I remember at one point, 1 or 2 months into this drug addiction after being hospitalized, um, I overdosed on Benadryl. And after that overdose, after taking like 40 of them, um, my mania went down. Even with stimulants, my interests went down, and I basically stayed in my bedroom, and there was this cyclical process of like smoking weed, smoking part of a cigarette, and I always kept it to like 2 or 3 drags of a cigarette. I would smoke the weed, then I would smoke the cigarette, then I would smoke the hash, and the hash was just a downer, and then I would feel down, so I would decide to smoke more sativa, more weed, to get back up again, and then I would smoke the cigarette, and then I would feel too anxious, and I'd decide to smoke the hash again, and it just went in this cycle of like doing one after the other, after the other, after the other, and I was just stuck in my room like shaking, unable to fall asleep that easily. And each day I had this like 1 hour or 45 minutes or whatever of solace where the stimulant worked, and I felt like, I could barely see sometimes, and I had this thing, like it gave me 1 hour of peace, but because it was a stimulant and I was also on the weed and the other drugs, the alcohol too, I would get this image that said survival on, and it felt like I was trying to survive instead of enjoying myself or being addicted. It was a game of survival, to be addicted to drugs. And so anyway, I got treatment for it. While I was in treatment, I sniffed a few things. I got off the main substances. I stopped hallucinating, all these things. Because my world just kept shrinking and shrinking until I hit my mother and ended up in the hospital again. And so about 2 years later, I went to Narcotics Anonymous for like a year and a half, and 2 years later, I got back into the drugs. But this time, I had this discipline where I would choose with this inner voice that told me exactly what to take, when to take it, and so I didn't get addicted nearly as quickly. Like, it took time to progress, and I ended up taking 12 Benadryls every other day, and 100 milligrams of Vyvanse every day, or maybe 60 milligrams, 40 milligrams someday. And I got a girlfriend who, it's the first time I fell in love, and so it was such a cool period of my life. And the addiction, I felt, wasn't that bad because of how it paled in comparison to the one 2 years before, or 3 years before. But I remember during the withdrawal, I was sweating. I was just sweating so much, and I had this discipline to stay in bed and endure it. And it lasted for about a week. I would have these delirious dreams sometimes, and I was sweating and just so hot. And then one day my body started moving on its own without me wanting it to, and it made me overdose on 37 Benadryls, and I started to do things without wanting to. it's like, I don't know what happened, but my body had had enough of drugs and was moving on its own, and I ended up jumping off a balcony without wanting to, and so basically now I'm drug-free except for like benzodiazepines like Ativan. You know, I take Xanax here and there. I'm basically drug-free, and I never want to use drugs again because where I was not a good place. You know, I remember having this vein here that was sort of like bulging out, and realizing like where I was stuck in a room just like using and using and using and not doing anything else. So I never want to go back there. Thanks for listening. Peace.